Hello guys, welcome back to the MMASucka channel. My name is Frazer and it's good to be back after a few weeks off. I've been away, but now I'm back and I'm raring to go. I'm raring to break down UFC Fight Night Sao Paulo. There's only really one fight worth talking about. That was the main event. But I do want to give a big look ahead to UFC 290. I almost said 296, no, 295. The UFC 30th anniversary show, New York City, New York, USA, Madison Square Garden. We've got a new main event. We've got a cracking co-main event. I really want to jump into that. But what I will do first of all, like I say, is just a brief look at the main event. Jailton Almeida defeated Derek Lewis by unanimous decision, 50-44, 50-44, and 50-45. It was a 5-0, and it was, 21 minutes and 10 seconds of control time. Took Derek Lewis down every single round, controlled him for every single round. Lewis couldn't get anything off. Lewis landed a total of 28 strikes. Most of them were from the bottom. 20 significant strikes. Again, they didn't really do much to Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida landed 123 strikes, 6 of 15 takedowns. But the most importantly is when he landed those takedowns, what he did with those takedowns, and he just controlled Derek Lewis. Was this the most entertaining fight in the world? No, it wasn't. There's no denying that. But did Jailton Almeida do exactly what he needed to do against Derek Lewis? Yes, I think he did. I really do think he did exactly. Like I said, it's not going to go down as a fight of the year, fight of the night contender, not even close to it. But what is important is that Jailton Almeida did exactly what he needed to do in order to win that fight. Let's not forget that Jailton Almeida took this fight, as did Derek Lewis. I'm not trying to take anything away from Derek Lewis. But Jailton Almeida took this fight on short notice against a completely different style matchup. He was meant to be facing Curtis Blades. Obviously, Curtis Blades had to withdraw with injury, and Derek Lewis jumped in to, essentially save the day. But let's not forget that, it's a completely different style matchup. Derek Lewis, one punch, and it's you wake up looking at the ceiling. So Jailton Almeida did exactly what he needed to do to win this fight. I don't think Derek Lewis takes too much of a step backwards in the rankings as a result of this loss. I always do like to talk about the rankings. He was 10th and he lost to number 9. I don't think he takes a step back, especially as he took the fight on short notice as well. For Jailton Almeida, I think he jumps maybe 2 or 3 spaces, probably above Tai Tuivasa, probably above Sergei Spivak. And then you've got to be asking what's next. And I think, he did call out Cyril Gane. He's 6-0 in the UFC now. He's due a big fight. He did call out Cyril Gane. I don't think Cyril Gane takes that fight. Cyril Gane wasn't exactly keen to take the fight with Tom Aspinall, so I'm not really sure why he would take the fight with Jailton Almeida, who is considerably, he's a lot lower ranked than Tom Aspinall. I think you got to be looking at either rebooking that Curtis Blades fight or potentially the loser of this weekend's co-main event, which I'll go on to talk about a little bit later. But I think, for me, I think Jailton Almeida probably jumps up to number 7, knocks Sergei Spivak and Tai Tuivasa down a ranking. And I really do think that we should be looking at rebooking the Curtis Blades fight, because that was the fight to make. That was going to really test Jailton Almeida, who through his UFC career thus far has looked flawless. And it's, it is the heavyweight division that that is sort of on notice this weekend, or rather should have been. If I would have been recording this a couple of weeks ago, we'd have been talking about UFC 295, the return of Jon Jones for the second time in 2023, looking to defend his heavyweight champion against the consensus GOAT of the heavyweight division, the most successful heavyweight in history, Stipe Miocic. Unfortunately, Jon Jones obviously had to pull out of that fight, and we had to bump up what was the co-main event to the main event. But the UFC just doing UFC things. Okay, we lose the main event. We've still got a title fight on the card, so it's not an issue. What we're going to do, we're going to just put another title fight on there. Heavyweight interim title fight. Sergei Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. I want to jump into that and I want to talk a little bit about that fight, but I'm just going to look up and down the card. So going back to the UFC Fight Night Sao Paulo, there's some good performances on it. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 overall. We got a couple of cancellations, but yeah, 6 out of 10. It wasn't great. It wasn't awful. There were some good finishes. Nicholas Dalby picked up a good finish over Bonfim, snapping his undefeated streak. But I'm going to go in straight away and rank UFC 295 without a single punch or kick being thrown, without anybody making weight or missing weight. This comes for me with a caveat of this is the UFC's flagship New York show. They only go to New York for a pay-per-view once a year in Madison Square Garden, and it is every November. You also have to consider that this is the 30th anniversary card. There was a humongous talk about who would be on this card. Were we going to see Conor McGregor? Were we going to see, who were we going to see? Khabib maybe returning. I heard a rumor of never going to happen, but you have to, these things were considered. For me, no, a fight night is never fought on paper. A fight card, sorry, is never fought on paper. But this is not a great card for me so far. The main card looks really good. Assuming that we're going to have a 5-fight main card, we've got headlining the bill will be the light heavyweight Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira fighting for the undisputed bout. That is going to be a phenomenal, crazy fight, and I can't wait to talk about it in a second. The co-main event, Sergei Pavlovich versus Britain's Tom Aspinall, phenomenal fight. Really big step up in competition for Mackenzie Dern, in my opinion, when she goes on to when she takes on Jessica Andrade. That one's an interesting one. I'm just going off what UFC stats say. So we then got Matt Favola versus Benoit Saint-Denis. That is going to be absolute fireworks. I cannot wait for that lightweight matchup to really see who can break into that top 15. Who can break into that top 15? I don't think any of the guys are ranked yet. Well, Matt Favola's ranked number 14. So can Benoit Saint-Denis really make his way into those rankings? We've got Diego Lopez versus Pat Sabatini. Let's not forget Diego Lopez took his UFC debut on short notice against Movsar Evloev and did really, really well. He then returned against Gavin Tucker and subbed him in a minute and a half or a little bit over a minute and a half. Sabatini's enjoying a good run of form as well at the moment. He's undefeated. He's got one loss in the UFC to Damon Jackson, but prior to that, he'd won 4 on the spin. He bounced back against Lucas Almeida last time out. Got Tabitha Ricci versus Lupi Godinez. I'm pretty sure Godinez only fought the other week. So she fought on September the 16th against Elise Reed, picking up her second UFC submission, defeating Elise Reed. Tabitha Ricci, I believe, is undefeated in the UFC. So she lost her debut. I mean, she lost her debut to Manon Fiorot, so there's no shame in that. But since then, she's put on 4 back-to-back really good performances, including the one last time out in June against Gillian Robertson. She defeated Gillian Robertson by unanimous decision. That's potentially the sort of, they're the highlights for me. Jared Gordon returns against Mark Madston, the Olympian. Madston obviously coming off the first loss of his career to Grant Dawson. Jared Gordon coming off the no contest against Bobby Green and the controversial loss against Paddy Pimblett. There's a couple of other fights on here, but to be honest, I think as the 30th year showcase, as it were, this isn't it. This is not the card that many expected. I'm just looking down the records of some of the guys and girls on this card. It's all about the co-main and main event for me. Mackenzie Dern versus Jessica Andrade. Can Mackenzie Dern get Jessica Andrade to the floor? We've seen Mackenzie Dern struggle to get her opponents down to the ground. She's not a great wrestler. Across 5 rounds, she defeated Yang Xiaonan. She defeated Yang Xiaonan across 5 rounds via, I think, unanimous, majority decision, but she was only able to take her down twice of 11 attempts. Angela Hill, she across 5 rounds again, she took her down 3 of 9 attempts. When she lost to, she lost to Yang Xiaonan. That was my mistake. When she lost to Marina Rodriguez, when she lost to Amanda Ribas, these are girls that she couldn't take down. 1 of 8 against Marina Rodriguez. Amanda Ribas, none of 6. She wasn't able to take Ribas down. Andrade is going to be the naturally bigger, stronger person in there. Takedown defense of 70%. And I think potentially the reason that Jessica Andrade has taken this fight is because she's fought higher level wrestlers, than Mackenzie Dern. I think Dern's going to be the best girl on the floor that she's ever fought if Dern can get it down there. We saw Erin Blanchfield not have an awful lot of success. She was 1 of 3 on her takedowns against Andrade. Tatiana Suarez last time out scored all 3. She attempted 3 and she attempted 3 takedowns. She landed 3 takedowns. For me, this is whether Andrade can just stay on her game. This is going to be her 5th fight of 2023, and she's gone 1 and 3 in those fights, with the only win coming in January against Lauren Murphy. She then lost to Erin Blanchfield by sub. She lost to Yang Xiaonan by TKO or KO, and she lost to Tatiana Suarez last time out in August. She's back in there again. I want to see Andrade sort of take a little bit of time out, but obviously that's not in her nature. It's going to be the second time that we see Mackenzie Dern, so she's probably going to be the fresher fighter in there. If Dern can do enough on her feet to be able to land the takedown, it's Dern's fight to lose, in my opinion. If she can threaten the takedown enough to then maybe potentially land sort of like a big overhand right on Andrade, it's again her fight to lose. But if Andrade can fight how she did against Laura Murphy, when it was just all output, Laura Murphy landed none of 15 takedowns. If she just constantly is out, putting out jabs, shots, hooks, tight, keeping everything tight, I don't think she may even knock Mackenzie Dern out. Officially, I think I'm going to pick Jessica Andrade. This girl's been there in with the best of the best, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think she's been in there with with Shevchenko. Yeah, of course she has. Yeah, she's been in there with Shevchenko, Nami Yunus, Wiley Zhang, Jędrzejczyk, Kovacevic back in her prime, Tisha Torres, Claudia Gadelha. She's going to go down as a legend of Erin Blanchfield, Tatiana Suarez, and Yang Xiaonan of kind of this era. She's going to go down as a legend of women's mixed martial arts. There's no denying that. She's got a record of 24-12, so it hasn't always gone away, but she's fought us. She's back down at strawweight now. She's fought bantamweight. She's held the belt at flyweight. She's back down at strawweight now. For me, like I say, it's Andrade's fight to lose with the experience that she's got. But who knows? Who knows what kind of Andrade we'll see? Because, like I say, it's her 5th fight this year. She's lost her last 3, all of which have come via finish. So it is going to be entertaining, but it is just an exciting fight prior to the UFC interim heavyweight title bout between Sergei Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall. I wrote an article on this a few weeks ago when this fight was announced. Let's not forget that this fight was kind of a late notice fight. Sorry, we've got a lot of good. This is going to sound ridiculous. We've got a lot of good heavyweights for a change. We don't often get a lot of good heavyweights because there's just not an awful lot of heavyweights out there that can really make it. Heavyweight is a division where one shot can end everything. And that is often what's happened. If you look at Curtis Blaydes, he's one of the most elite heavyweights in the world. And every time he's almost got to the shot at a title, he's been knocked out. Derek Lewis knocked him out. Francis Ngannou, I think, holds 2 wins over Curtis Blaydes. Last time out, Sergei Pavlovich knocked him out in the first round. So he's very much the nearly man. He'll go on a run. So just quickly looking at Curtis Blaydes, who I do think is one of the elite guys in the division. He lost his debut to Francis Ngannou, then he beat Cody East. Then he had a no contest. Then he had 4 straight wins. Then he lost to Francis Ngannou again. Then he had 4 straight wins and he got knocked out by Derek Lewis. Then he had 3 straight wins, including that win against Tom Aspinall, due to the injury, but it is what it is, 15 seconds and all that. And then he lost to Sergei Pavlovich. You don't get 2 guys at the very top of their game in Sergei Pavlovich riding an insane win streak in the UFC, and Tom Aspinall maybe hasn't got the win streak, but if we disregard that sort of loss to Curtis Blaydes, which we can't completely do, we can't completely disregard the loss because it was a loss. It is on his record, but it was due to an injury. I wrote an article a few weeks ago, sort of early predictions, October the 25th, so just after this fight was announced. I'll link it in the description below, of what we can expect. And the main thing that I think we can expect is that the judges can go and get a drink before the main event. They can take this fight off, because I don't see this one going 25 minutes. Although it's scheduled for 5-minute rounds, I don't think that they'll be needed. Across a combined 35 fights between Pavlovich and Aspinall, the bell's only been heard 3 times. The final bell, has only been heard 3 times. That's all in for Pavlovich, and none of them have come in the UFC. Aspinall's got 9 knockouts and 4 submissions. Pavlovich has got 15 knockouts. 15 knockouts and 3 decisions, and has never been to the judges in the UFC, like I said. And the last time he did go to the judges was in 2017. He's recorded 6 straight first round knockouts in the UFC. Now, just let that sink in for a second. 6 straight first round UFC knockouts. Marcelo Gomez, Maurice Green, Shamil Abrahamimov, Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, and Curtis Blaydes. Those last 3, Derek Lewis in 55 seconds, Tai Tuivasa in 54 seconds, and Curtis Blaydes in 3 minutes and 8 seconds. But prior to that, Curtis Blaydes' actual fight being stopped, he battered Curtis Blaydes and really shocked him with a jab. Tom Aspinall's record as of late, again, he did, his UFC record, at least. Jake Collier, 45-second victory. Alan Badu, 1 minute and 35 ground and pound victory. Andrei Arlovski took him into the second round, but he finished that by rear naked choke. Sergey Spivak, first round TKO. Alexander Volkov, headlining for the first time in the UFC. Tom Aspinall, 3 minutes 45 straight arm knock. Then he did get, let's be honest, it is a loss. It is a loss on his record. Curtis Blaydes, the knee injury at UFC Fight Night. I'll link the article that I wrote about that injury below. But then he returned UFC Fight Night again, headline against Marcin Tybura, 1 minute 13 and straight right to ground punches. But it's the elbow that was landed by Tom Aspinall that really made that win so good. I genuinely think that Tom Aspinall is one of the best heavyweights that we've ever seen in the UFC, and has the potential to be the best heavyweight we've ever seen in the UFC. And the reason for that is because for his last fight, he weighed in at 258 pounds, and yet he moves like someone who weighs 158 pounds. He's so quick across the ground, and he lands shots from awkward angles, but he's really got to. He's got the speed advantage over Sergei Pavlovich. There's no doubt about it. His lightning jab can really cause Pavlovich problems. I think his in and out movement, he needs to be able to land those low calf kicks to slow the forward momentum of Pavlovich down, because we know what Pavlovich is going to do. He's going to come out, he's going to look to walk Tom Aspinall down, land the low kick, land the heavy punches, and finish Tom Aspinall early. But if Tom Aspinall can slow Pavlovich down with the calf kicks, it'll stop that forward momentum, and it may take some of the sting off his punches, which we know, as his record suggests, are a worrying factor for any opponent that Pavlovich has. For me, Tom has to be really careful of the exchanges. This is all about who can land the first couple of shots for me. If Pavlovich lands the first couple of shots, he might sort of rock Tom Aspinall, which would obviously then lead to serious problems for the Brit. But if Tom can land the first couple of shots and sort of sting Pavlovich, then we'll have a real fight on our hands. For me, there's only one person in this fight that can win via points if he wants to, and that is Tom Aspinall. I don't think Pavlovich has got the skills to eke out a fight. I think Sergei Pavlovich is an all or nothing fighter. He either goes out there to get the finish. He doesn't play the points game, which is what has got him into the position that he is. What has got him into the 18 and which has got him the 18-1 record that he so definitely deserves. But what I would say is that, like, if you look at his one UFC loss, it was at the hands of Alistair Overeem, a man who isn't known for his wrestling. And in that fight, Sergei Pavlovich didn't show a great deal of defensive awareness when it comes to takedowns. He was taken down by Alistair Overeem, controlled on the floor, and then ultimately finished on the floor. Tom Aspinall is a legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I think it's his father runs a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. It's Aspinall BJJ. It's Tom's bread and butter, and he's taken to striking rather than being a striker that's taken to the wrestling and the grappling game. He averages 3.7 takedowns per 15, sorry. And that's taking into account that only one of his fights has come out of the second round. His takedown accuracy is 100%. What I would say is that we don't know what Pavlovich's ground game is like. His takedown defense is 75%. He wasn't taken down by Curtis Blaydes at all. Blaydes only attempted the one takedown. The only person he has been taken down against is Alistair Overeem, as we said, and that obviously didn't end great for him. But I think if Tom Aspinall wants to finish this one, he'd be better off doing it on the ground. I don't think the size of Pavlovich will come in and weigh in at 265 pounds. And there's I really 200. Okay, so I'm looking at his couple of fights. He's weighed 255, 254, 255, and 260. I think he'll come in heavy again against Tom Aspinall and look to almost be the sort of size bully in there a little bit. But Tom is a huge guy himself. I'm beating around the bush a little bit because I really don't know how this one's going to go. I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall by submission. I think what he did to Volkov in his first main event spoke volumes for how he can deal with strikers. Admittedly, two completely different strikers. You had a kickboxer versus essentially a brawling boxer in Pavlovich. And I think Tom needs to, like I say, slow down the forward momentum of Pavlovich in that first couple of rounds. I think, although Pavlovich has been preparing for this date as the potential replacement fighter, I don't think Tom's stamina is going to be an issue. Obviously, these guys don't really have to cut weight to make heavyweight, which is a nice thing to see. But what I will say is that Pavlovich is he's gonna hit Tom. Tom has been known to sort of back up with his chin in the air a couple of times throughout his career. What I am slightly worried about for Tom is if Pavlovich can catch Aspinall, we know that he's got the power to cause problems. I just think Tom is going to be too motivated. I think this is Tom Aspinall's time, and I think there's a good chance that Pavlovich comes again if he loses this one. But what I will say is I do think Tom Aspinall can sting Pavlovich, force Pavlovich to swing for Aspinall, shoot on him, get the fight to the ground, and I can see a sort of an arm triangle finish, which is not something we often see because of the size of heavyweights, but I can see either, you know, an arm triangle finish or even something. I don't think we'll see like a key lock or a Kimura like we did against Volkov, because I think Pavlovich is simply too powerful. But what I do think that there's going to be a different submission. You know, we're not going to get the guillotine or the rear naked choke. I think it's going to be a lock submission for Tom Aspinall. Around the second or third round, in my opinion, I do think the first round may be a little bit of a feeling out process, which is ironic because I said that the judges won't be needed. These guys have got a host of first round finishes between them. But this, let's not forget, is in Madison Square Garden for the interim heavyweight title co-main event. And that's all because the main event sees the return of Jiri Prochazka as he takes on Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight, the vacant light heavyweight championship. Let's not forget. Let's take you back to Jiri Prochazka's last fight. He won the light heavyweight title against Alex Pereira's trainer, Alex Pereira's coach, Glover Teixeira. He was then scheduled to face Glover Teixeira again, and he had to pull out with a terrible shoulder injury. That was at the back end of last year. I think then that fight was completely cancelled from what I can remember, and Teixeira took on Jamala Hill. Jamala Hill obviously won that fight. And then he got injured, and now the belt has been vacated. Jiri Prochazka rightfully should be competing for this belt, and he faces Alex Pereira, a man who has just one win at light heavyweight. But let's not forget his middleweight run. Knocked out Sean Strickland, the current middleweight champion. Knocked out the previously undefeated at middleweight, Israel Adesanya. Did lose the rematch to Israel Adesanya, but every man and his dog was saying that he shouldn't be competing at middleweight anymore. He's simply too big. He went up in weight and fought Jan Blachowicz to a split decision. Instantly forgettable fight, in my opinion. But that's a Jan Blachowicz that had just drawn a fight for the championship, for the belt. He now faces Jiri Prochazka. Now, if you're a striking fan, a fan of striking, tune in. If you're a fan of wrestling, look away now, because I do not see any of these two men looking to take the fight to the floor. This is going to be a crazy battle, because let's be honest, Alex Pereira is potentially one of the best strikers that we've ever seen in the UFC. He was inducted into the Glory Hall of Fame this weekend, I believe, and rightfully so, because he's the two-weight Glory World Champion. He's the former middleweight champion of the UFC, and in his light heavyweight debut, he didn't exactly look undersized against Jan Blachowicz, who is a big guy himself. What I would say is that he is one of the crispest strikers that the UFC have on their roster at the moment. You know, he does everything with the correct technique. His hands are always in the right place, etc., etc. Jiri Prochazka is I'd say a coach's worst nightmare if you're using him as an example as to how to throw a shot correctly, because he does crazy things in there. You don't want to look at a Jiri Prochazka fight for his technique or his skill level with regards to the correct way to throw a shot. The skill level that he has as far as MMA is concerned is phenomenal, but the skill level that he has as far with regards to this is how you throw a jab, this is how you throw a straight, this is how you throw a shot, uppercut, etc., is, I wouldn't say dreadful, but it's so unique and unordinary that it's difficult to prepare for, which is why I think that he might cause Alex Pereira problems. Alex Pereira is much used to a standard, the last two fights that he's had, he's been preparing for people with a standard kickboxing style, Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz. Jiri Prochazka, returning from injury, doesn't have those kind of standard kickboxing styles. He'll stand with his hands down, which is a massive risk against someone like Alex Pereira. He gets caught with a lot of shots. Strikes absorbed per minute, 5.4. 5.4 strikes absorbed per minute. Significant strikes, absorbed per minute. But he lands 5.77. So if he can put the pace on Alex Pereira, that's when I think we have a real fight in our hands. But Glover Teixeira landed 111 significant strikes and 159 total strikes on him in their fight that went pretty much all 5 rounds, went 24 and a half minutes. Dominic Reyes landed 68 total strikes, 63 of which were significant in 9, just under 10 minutes. Volkan Ozdemir, in a little over a single round, landed 44 total strikes, 41 significant strikes. If Alex Pereira lands, I think he knocks Jiri Prochazka out. But I do also think that Jiri Prochazka can cause Alex Pereira a whole host of problems because he just won't know what to do with him, kind of thing. It's a fascinating fight, and I'm looking forward more to breaking it down than I am to previewing it because I really don't know what we'll expect. But that's your MMA for this week, guys. This podcast has been a little bit all over the place. I'm still getting back into the swing of things. We've got a Cage Warriors live from London this weekend as well. Darren Stewart returning. We've got the vacant welterweight championship on the line. Looks like a pretty solid card up and down. If you're in London, it's worth going to check out. But for me, it's all about the 30th anniversary card this weekend. UFC 295 main event, co-main event. The ones to keep an eye on. There's a couple of fun fights: Benoit Saint-Denis versus Matt Favola, Pat Sabatini versus Diego Lopez, Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. But for me, it's the title charge of Britain's Tom Aspinall, looking to become the first British-born champion of the UFC and the third champion from the UK third fighter from the UK to hold a belt in the UFC. Of course, we've had Michael Bisping. Of course, we've got Leon Edwards. And now it's Tom Aspinall's time. And then, of course, in the main event, we've got the crazy stand-up battle between Jiri Prochazka, the returning Jiri Prochazka from injury, and the scary Alex Pereira, a man who, in just his 7th UFC fight, could become a 2-weight UFC world champion, something that some fighters go a lifetime without even breaking into the top 15. And this is a man who's got the potential to become a 2-weight world champion in just 7 fights. Really good narratives going into this one, guys. Be sure to check it out. But more importantly, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, like the podcast. If you're on the podcast live on all good podcasting platforms, your preferred one, of course. And I'll be back next week to break it down because, like I say, it's a really fun card. And it's going to be really fun to break down. So thanks for listening, guys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.